can probably hear all of the water right now. There's just tons of it here at Smith Park. And there's just a few minutes left in this game. You can hear the fans' excitement. Veterans and their chaperones landed at 9:30. So right now they are deplaning and they're about to make their way out to their families. The speed limit here is 30 miles per hour, but the city says drivers are going faster than that. Everything's intact over here. There is nothing hanging down. Everything looks like it's how it's supposed to be. But unfortunately, with the storms that were here earlier today, this is what the roof looks like now. 8 full-time and 3 volunteers were pinned just inside the fire station. Like this sign says, Republic is growing. There are 3 people in the hospital right now. One of those is the driver. The other 2 are the pedestrians the driver hit. There is just lines and lines of cars, but that should be easing up soon because they are opening the single lane. I'm actually going to pick up some of the hail right now just to show you kind of how big it is. So obviously, some of this hail has melted. Well, there's definitely people that are very excited about this tonight. No, what is it like to have so much support here at Big Whiskey's?
I mean, it just couldn't have been done without him. I owe so much thank you to everyone that put in so much work to this.
I wasn't really expecting the implosion to be as loud and as big as it was. People even told us they heard the implosion out in Ozark and Nixa. But although a very exciting morning, it was all still bittersweet. From this to this, in just a matter of seconds.
It was falling over really slow, and then all of a sudden it just.
A part of Springfield's history crumbled to the ground.
It's going to look different coming down 65 where you could see the 4 stacks and the light flashing and not seeing that anymore.
For Matthew KASTNER, the stacks are a part of his past and present.
The plant went online in 1957, the year I was born.
He started working at the power plant in 1978. 43 years later, he's still an employee.
I know there were a lot of retirees over here, so it's very bittersweet.
United Way of the Ozarks and City Utilities held a raffle to determine who pressed the button to detonate the implosion.
I heard that there were a lot of people putting money in my name for me to push the button. And the way it turned out, they came down yesterday to tell me, introduce me to the person that won.
We drew a name from a family in California, and this was our winner for the blast.
Well, how did she get here?
Turned around and my sister was standing by me, and I could not figure out how that happened because, I mean, she's in California, so it just didn't make any sense.
I just thought, well, that would be a good way to go back and then hand it over to my brother, and fun to watch it too.
CU is demolishing parts of the plant in phases. Once the teardown is done, Matt plans to retire. But he will always be reminded of the place he's called his other home for 43 years.
I want to see the building stay. I'd like for them to keep that there. I know the boilers are probably going to go down. So I know we're going to get to a point, but as long as the plant's still there, I'm happy with it.
The big guest at the rally this year was former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft was pleased to invite former Secretary Pompeo this year as Ashcroft was just re-elected, making this his 2nd term as Secretary of State.
Well, you had a good, successful election here. That didn't happen everywhere in America.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo paid a visit to the Ashcroft farm in Willard for the 2nd annual Faith and Freedom Rally.
Secretary Ashcroft has done a phenomenal job. He's a great American, a patriot, someone who believes in the same kind of things that we worked so hard on for 4 years in Washington, D.C. He does that here in Missouri every day.
Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft was first elected in 2016. He was re-elected in 2020, making this his 2nd term in office.
We need leaders that understand that increasing opportunity for people to make their own decisions, to be responsible for their own lives, and do what's best for them to fulfill the maximum of their God-given potential. That's what I'm in favor of doing.
People from all over the state listened to speeches from Ashcroft and Pompeo.
Everybody has to be.
Rebecca Hummel agrees with several of former President Trump's initiatives.
I'm Asian.
I migrated here, and I don't see people by color.
But you did it the correct way.
I did it the correct way. We have to stop illegal immigration.
She likes Ashcroft's focus on faith.
If you put God back to our lives and to our schools, everything will follow suit.
With an end goal of preserving Missouri's history to continue in the same direction,
we're proud to be coming from the Midwest.
Kind of pretty happy right now with the way Missouri's sitting as far as our politicians, so doing okay.
Hoping to keep the state red for future elections.
If you are from another country and you come to the United States, do what the Americans do. Exactly. Don't let America serve you like depend on America. You came here to, I think, serve America, not America to serve you.
Students were just shocked to have received this scholarship today. Overall, it was an emotional day for everyone. Chandler's mom, Shelly, says being at Kickapoo brought back so many memories of her son and all he accomplished. It's been 14 months since Chandler Sweeney's death. For his mom, Shelly, she's been through every emotion, but today she felt something new.
I think I actually did feel some joy in my heart. Which I'm not sure, I'm not sure if I've had that since then.
That joy started with making a trip to Kickapoo High School where Chandler sang and played tuba.
It's one of the few things that really does help with that pain and grief over losing a child, is to be able to give back.
2 seniors received the Do Better, Be Better scholarship.
I was definitely very surprised. I had no idea what was happening.
Caitlin Penkalski is in choir at Kickapoo.
Just like listening to Chandler's story and knowing that he was a part of something that I'm a part of here at Kickapoo, and he personally knew my choir director, and so I've heard stories of him through my choir director.
Hearing this story of her son, like pulls at your heartstrings,
Anna Riemenschneider is also in choir and played band in middle school. Both Anna and Caitlin say Do Better, Be Better is something they're proud to be a part of.
I'm going to be in a competitive field, but that doesn't mean I can't be kind to others and compassionate.
Do Better, Be Better is something that anyone can apply to any one of their passions, not just a choir or music related. And so it's definitely important that people keep those thoughts in the back of their mind, whether it's an academic passion or an athlete passion or anything like that.
I hope Chandler's legacy will live on for many years at Kickapoo.
He really was an impact on a lot of people at his school.
I felt Chandler in the parking lot as I was pulling in, and I got the certificates out, and I kind of heard in my ear, good job, Mom.
Morrison says she received a letter from the superintendent stating she did not receive a renewal because of a handout she had her students fill out prior to reading a chapter in the book, Dear Martin.
I teach Dear Martin in contemporary lit.
Kimberly Morrison has used Dear Martin in her class before.
The main character is Justice, and he writes in a diary, if you will, to Martin Luther King. That's the Dear Martin part of it. So he sorts through his experiences as a minority in this mostly white preparatory school.
Morrison felt there was more students could learn from the book than years past.
One of the topics we discussed was racial privilege. There was a handout that kind of exemplified racial privilege.
The handout asked students several true or false questions. Morrison says she found the handout online and it was not used for grading or discussion purposes.
It was a pre-reading survey, your experience with racial privilege, as a pre-reading to a specific chapter in the book that was the subject or the theme of that chapter.
Around the end of February, Morrison says she heard from an administrator who asked about the worksheet.
Administrator notified me that there were concerns. She had fielded some complaints about this handout. She wanted to know the context of how this handout fit into what we were discussing. I told her. I thought that was the end of the discussion. 2 weeks later, she called me back in and said this is still an issue.
Morrison received a letter saying the school board decided not to renew her employment. A separate letter from the superintendent explained why, saying, quote, your decision to incorporate the worksheet associated with Dear Martin due to the content and subject matter. We reached out to the Greenfield superintendent. He said in an email, quote, I cannot specifically address this individual because it is a personnel matter. Morrison will continue to teach at Greenfield through the end of the year.
I'm still sorting through what my next step is. I thought I'd be here until I didn't want to be, until, you know. So I haven't thought that through. I mean, obviously I'm looking for other jobs. Beyond that, I don't know.